We did get a record high on the Dow, NASDAQ, and Russell at the open, although we've settled back a bit. Let's get to Bob Pisani. Morning, Bob.
Good morning, Carl. Happy Monday, everybody. New highs on Friday for all the major indices. Not happening today. A little bit of a pause, but that's probably a good thing given how overbought that we've been. Let's take a look at the sectors. So remember the trend that we saw in November that has continued into December. The trend has been value names like energy and banks have tended to outperform growth names like technology, but technology continues to do well. A little bit of an inversion of that story today, but not much, kind of flattish. More defensive sectors like consumer staples have underperformed the overall market, but are still up. So the fact that even underperformers are up, this has led to that Goldilocks scenario. Essentially, everything's up, and this is why we're at historic highs. Broad advance in the last 5 or 6 weeks. One thing that hasn't changed is the relentless advance of semiconductor stocks. There's a small group of new highs today, and they're all semiconductors. Qualcomm, Broadcom, KLA, Qorvo, Applied Materials, analog devices. It doesn't matter. You know, it may be that software is eating the world, but the semiconductors are the hardware that's eating the world as well. So these are on the new high list today. As far as the narrative, there's not a lot of change to the narrative really over the weekend. We all know what the main stories are. Essentially, we've got a very tough COVID winter coming up, and that's going to be hard. The headwinds are from the lockdowns and the restrictions that are gripping the economy. The spring reopen is expecting, folks. The market believes it's going to happen in the second quarter of 2021. We're going to return to some kind of normalcy. That may seem a little optimistic, but that's what the markets are signaling. Stimulus talk, still optimism, even though we haven't had anything. We've been had this optimism for more stimulus for 2 months now and going on thin fumes at this point. The valuations we've said over and over again, 22 times 2021 earnings, overbought indicators. Under normal historic patterns, it'd be very tough to sustain the kind of rally what we're seeing. The problem is we're not sure if this is normal. It's certainly not. We're in uncharted territory on the virus and on how the virus might affect earnings and sentiment. So that's why everybody's a little unsure about whether these high valuations necessarily mean the rally is going to stop here. Very exciting week for IPOs. We've talked about this for a while. Airbnb upped their numbers this morning here. So now we're talking about $56 to $60 potentially after $44 to $60. $3.1 billion raise, $41 billion potential market cap when it was $18 billion during the lows back then. It's really a remarkable turnaround. The reopening story, talk about a perfect time to go public. That's certainly there. DoorDash, we'll see what they're doing. They're going to raise on Friday. Seems a little more like a 2020 story, though, DoorDash over Airbnb. As for 2021 IPOs, there's a lot of potential excitement out there. I'll be talking with Kathleen Smith today on Halftime Report about that. She runs the Renaissance Capital IPO, SpaceX maybe, Stripe, Waymo, Instacart coming in 2021. We'll keep an eye on all these, but these are just the obvious ones that are out there. David's done such a terrific job talking about the SPAC business, including the big one today. I just want to point out how remarkable this battle, if you could call it that, between IPOs and SPACs are. They've raised the same amount of money this year. This has never happened before. So right now, we have 194 IPO deals that have raised $67 billion. Guess what? We have the same number. 200 SPACs have raised about $64 billion. It's a dead heat. Here's two things that are remarkable. Number one, total amount raised between the two of them, about $130 billion. That's a remarkable amount of money raised for new companies coming into the markets. That's a good sign overall. And remember something, 3 years ago, SPACs were a nothing business. SPACs did not have a good reputation overall, Carl, and of course, the success of big names like Chamath have really changed that perspective.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.